welcome to Boxing Moment with my man Darnell. You know, Darnell Kirkland Jr. We got to let him know he's junior, not the senior. This is where we talk about the world of boxing. Darnell is really our voice on RSG around boxing. And we want to hit a couple subjects before we get into his top 5 knockout artists, the hardest hitters in boxing history. He's got a really good list that we want to feature here. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But Darnell, a lot's been going on. You and I been calling, like they used to call them the Twitter beasts, the quarantine gangsters. Everybody's chest is pumping out. We all been quarantined. You know, cats are trying to call fights, people trying to negotiate fights that never would have materialized prior to us all being quarantined. But now you got all kinds of folks pumping up. And we don't know if these things are going to materialize once we get to all go. The stay-at-home orders are lifted. So what you hear on these streets? What you hear on these streets? You got a lot of folks going back and
I'm hearing this happened last week, but you had Terrence Crawford going back and forth with Jermell Charlo. Jermell was I think it was in the interview they was talking about the Crawford versus Errol Spence fight, which is a big fantasy fight, which has been delayed for several years, just like Mayweather and Pacquiao did about a good 5 years ago. But Jermell said he doesn't believe there's any way that Terrence Crawford could beat Errol Spence, because that's, it's a stablemate. He's picking his side, and the Terrence Crawford being, he gonna protect his name. He said he came back at him and he said, you better shut your mouth before I show you who the real king of the jungle is, and it's not a damn lion, which is kind of hilarious because the Charlo brothers saying is lions only. So he said the king of the jungle is a lion, and he's going to show him. But this is one of those things. I'm not sure if it's actually going to happen. I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. But it's interesting and fun to see on Twitter because really there's nothing going on right now. So seeing an exchange like this is it'll help the time pass a little faster.
Now, you also said that you also hear some talk happening with Pacquiao behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, I heard that. That's more recent. But what's happened, I didn't hear about this. But that fight probably will happen because Manny Pacquiao was talking about he's in negotiations with Terrence Crawford's team, Danny Garcia's team, and I forgot who the other one is. I think it's Mikey. But with the kind of desperation that has been going on with Terrence Crawford's career, I think Bob Arum is going to pretty much make it his mission that fight is going to come to pass. I think that is going to be the next move. And hopefully for us boxing fans and the career of Terrence Crawford, I hope that fight does happen. So that's one issue that's been going on. Do you have any thoughts about that? What would happen if that fight were to take place, Charlo versus Crawford?
Charlo and Crawford, that'd be an interesting fight. I mean, I think, both these guys have really good ring generalship. They're not afraid to bang a little bit. Crawford's getting touched a little bit more in recent fights than I'm used to see him getting touched. He's gonna have his work cut out for him because it's not gonna be one of these fights he can just walk through someone, And so I think because Crawford's got more tools in his bag, he can switch. A lot of it's like I think Crawford's got to get down to the point when he switches, sometimes he'll get stubborn. But I think if he really gets a handle on how he wants to switch or move or change things up, I think that's one I could go to distance and have him win in some 115, 113 type of thing in the fight. But I think it's Crawford. But the hardest thing to know is how much this layoff affecting people's ability to stay on their game and train, but I would say Crawford slightly on this. These are young guns. If it's Crawford and Pacquiao, that's gonna be interesting. Pacquiao's got great hand speed. He's clever. Crawford's got that good power. I was watching what Floyd was able to do with Pacquiao, but I think Crawford's much more ready to engage than Floyd was. and what that might look like. Pacquiao with this, opportunity to rest and get his legs right is dangerous. He's going to stay in shape. But I think, the young buck will probably get him in the end. It's one of them fights where you realize you've gotten to a little bit more deep water. Two people I thought he should stay away from is Errol Spence and Crawford. Everybody else I think is game. But Errol Spence and Crawford are two cats I was like, stay away from them two. But I think, with this time off and Manny's crafty and still got that power, still got that quickness. Could be a problem, but I think Crawford would, get him in the end.
Well, in my opinion, the Crawford and Charlo fight is interesting on a couple fronts because on the Crawford side, you have a guy in Crawford that he's moved up a few weight classes, and moving up another one, you're gonna have to deal with stuff because you've seen him in the last few fights. Because Crawford is a guy, he likes to take risks, he likes to take chances, and we've seen him get hit a lot more. So how is he gonna respond to get hit by a guy that's bigger, like a Charlo is, and a guy he's not gonna go away because not only is he big and strong, but he's always in excellent shape.
Yep.
We've never seen Charlo really get tired at all in any fight. So he's not going to go away. So I don't know, because usually Crawford he has superior conditioning. So as fights wear on, he usually can keep up his pace and he makes his adjustments, and you're going to wear down in the end. But with Charlo, you have another guy. He's not going to go away either. So he's really going to have to separate himself. And the thing is he can box. I think most people, we all can say that we believe Crawford's probably a more talented, more skillful fighter. But even with him boxing on the outside, at some point he's going to have to gain his respect, and push him back at points to win the fight. But on the other end, you got on Charlo's end, you got to look at the fact that him and his brother, both of them, they struggle with southpaws, and with the adjustment that Crawford would likely make, he'll probably switch southpaw and box, and that's something that the Charlos really don't handle well. So I think Crawford could outbox Charlo, and that could be dangerous for both fighters. But it's a fight that I don't think is going to happen, to be honest with you. And I think it's just like you said, a case of quarantine, quarantine. But like you said with the Pacquiao fight is another interesting one.
Yeah.
I have an eerie feeling about this because most of the experts will tell you that they think Crawford would demolish Manny Pacquiao at this point. But I don't think so. I think from what I've been seeing, I have an eerie feeling that Crawford's going to get knocked out in that fight. Because the way that Manny Pacquiao comes forward with his unorthodox style and his speed, even at this point, because because it seems like with the Broner fight, he did not necessarily have the same explosiveness and stuff and speed that he had in the Keith Thurman fight. But if he can come out and regain that form that he had in the Keith Thurman fight, I think it's going to be a long night for Terrence Crawford. I think he's going to get caught because he likes to exchange a lot, and his defense is good at times, but he still gets caught. So Manny Pacquiao, he's gonna capitalize on those moments, and I think he could eventually get dropped in that fight. I think I think I might favor Pacquiao in that fight.
And I think that Pacquiao fight is one of those kind of crossroad fights. If you were to watch Floyd's career, it was that moment when he was going against that vet, like when he fought, even a Diego Corrales. So he fought in some of those moments where you're like, okay, is he going to keep taking this up a notch? And if Crawford's able to get through that fight, now he's at a whole new level. Now, a whole new level of demand. Now you win that fight, you are commanding money at a, you got to have those fights to then be able to dictate things like Floyd does. So his ability to get to a fight for all the reasons you just said, if he's able to overcome that and win, and even if he's able to knock Manny out, that will put him at such a level on a superstar because of what Manny brings to the table. And I think the Keith Thurman win has even elevated it because that was a young buck. That was a young lion that everybody thought was going to be that person on that trajectory for that pound for pound. So you're hitting it right on the head. This is a dangerous fight because it's going to require him to control his anger and his angst. Like to beat Manny, he can knock Manny out by engaging on his terms, right? And that has nothing to do with you being macho or not. It's about you fighting at a high elite level against another elite fighter. And that's something that Floyd has no problem with. People have a problem with him doing it, but he has no problem with it. And at a certain point in your career, unless you're one of these devastating knockout artists you're going to talk about here in a minute, most people are boxers, punchers, or boxers. Very few people are just punchers. Most great people are boxers, punchers with some ability to having knockout power. But there are points in your career where you got to figure out how to get to the other side of this fight. Like it's all going to be grit. It's going to be battling. And you got to respect who in front of you. And that'll be a big test for Crawford. Be a big test for Crawford. Anything else happening out there in them streets, in them quarantine streets?
You have like a back and forth between the other Charlo, Big Charlo.
Big Charlo, big homie.
Yeah, at 160, he was talking. He got into it with David Benavidez, talking about moving up, and he said he might do him like Jermell did Erickson Lubin, which I don't know. And this is another interesting fight because how will his power carry up to 168 in another weight class, moving up? I think he definitely has the size to match up because he's a big middleweight himself. I think he's like 6 foot, 6'1". So
yeah, he got the frame.
He has the frame to move up for sure. And the other thing is with David Benavidez, does he necessarily have the experience level? As he's a younger guy, he thinks he's like 23. So does he have the experience level to hang in there? Is it his time yet? So, but he's also a very talented fighter, extreme hand speed, especially for a guy of his size. He has a very good power as well. But he had a tough fight with Ronald Gaville, which is a fighter he's not necessarily regarded as a very high level fighter. So we don't necessarily know what level David Benavidez is on right now. So that fight would be a very fun kind of measuring stick for both fighters, especially with the kind of lack of competition levels that Charlo has been fighting over the last couple of years. So it will be an interesting fight to look into as a fan. But I don't know if this fight is going to happen, but I would love to see it.
All right, we listened to a boxing moment with Darnell here on the RSG podcast platform. You can go to realsportsguys.com and catch other boxing moments podcasts that we've done, both audio and video, as well as our other podcasts that we have on our platform. Please check that out as well. And we also launched a new RSG Live Lounge on Facebook. It's been a great place for a lot of just dialogue going back and forth between our folks who follow us on RSG and folks who just love sports. And so you can catch Darnell and myself posting and other people and just exchange. One of the things we've been doing on the lounge is a lot of lists, a lot of discussions, a lot of different things. And so today we're going to do Darnell's top 5 knockout artists of all time in boxing. And he's got 5 who he says these are the top 5 in the history of boxing, he believes, in terms of the ability to put you through the flow if you don't act right. And so we'll let Darnell go on and do it. So Darnell, come on, who you got in your top 5?
Top 5. I know Devon's not going to like this. He's not going to let me put him at this spot, but I'm going with the bronze bomber, Deontay Wilder. This time,
Bob Squad.
His power is unquestioned. The way when he hits somebody, the way they react is just it's just a marvel to behold. Like a guy that's 6'7", he's a giant as far as boxing goes because we're gonna look back into history today, and a lot of these guys are like smaller heavyweights. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, there weren't too many 6'7", 6'6", 6'5" guys boxing. Because remember back in the day, George Foreman was listed. He was regarded as one of the bigger guys in the sport. Like they called him Big George Foreman. Even in his younger days, that's what they referred to him as. And he was like 6'3", maybe 230, 225, 6'3", 225. And today, 6'3", 225 is a small heavyweight because you're going up against guys like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, even like the lesser guys like Dominic Brazil. He's still like 6'8". Like he's still going against guys that are a lot larger. But his fights, his power, a lot of people are thinking like, wow, why is he not higher? I would probably say it's the level of competition. He is fighting guys of his day like Tyson Fury, guys like Luis Ortiz, but I don't think it compares to the next guy on my list. The next guy is Rocky Marciano. The knock on him would be the time in their careers which he fought these guys. Some guys would question what would happen if he fought like a younger Archie Moore? What happens if he fought like a younger Joe Louis? What happens if he fought Sonny Liston, who he did not fight? But the guys that he did fight, he has a lot of names on his resume. He has a lot of names. I'm going to read some to you right now just to jog your memory. He knocked out Archie Moore. He knocked out Ezra Charles, the Cincinnati Cobra. He knocked out Jersey Joe Walcott twice. He knocked out Joe Louis. He has a lot of names and high-level names on his resume, on his hit list. So he is going to be my number 4 guy. And number 3, I know you guys are going to be like, no, Tyson number 3. Because we all seen the reign of terror that Mike Tyson had at the beginning of his career. You kind of have to separate
your kids. He gonna eat your kids. What he say? He gonna eat? He gonna eat. He gonna do something to them. Like,
he was ferocious.
Stuff, you'd be scared. Like
his power was a different kind of power. His power was. We talked earlier on one mic about the Jordan documentary, and one thing Kenny Smith always says, which I really like this, the way he puts it. Michael Jordan is a guy where you combine the fundamentals, the elite fundamentals, with great athleticism. And young Mike Tyson, when he was in his prime, when he was working with Cus D'Amato, when he was working with Kevin Rooney, he was a guy that had very good technique, very good fundamentals. And you would combine that with elite explosiveness, elite athleticism, and it would not end up well for his opponents. So Mike Tyson, number 3, is one of the great ones. Number 2, Julian Jackson, maybe a name that isn't brought up a lot today. One of to some guys might be one of the more forgotten fighters, but this guy was at 154, and just do yourself a favor and watch a highlight reel of Julian the Hawk Jackson. This guy was knocking people. He was separating people from their senses. This guy was an absolute terror at 154. Like people would it was almost like a video game the way people would fall watching Julian Jackson. And just go see it for yourself. And my number 1 will be Big George Foreman. This should be the unanimous pick for everybody. George Foreman had one of, if not the, well, to me, this is the worst whooping in the history of boxing. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen it. Down goes Frazier. Foreman versus Frazier won. Joe Frazier at the time, he was a great champion. He had come off of beating Muhammad Ali, and which put him as the number 1 fighter in the world, undisputed. And a young guy, another Olympian, another gold medalist, George Foreman, he came in there and absolutely demolished him. We knocked him down like 5 times in the first 2 rounds. It was just absolutely ridiculous. George Foreman lifted Frazier off the ground with an uppercut. His feet came off the ground. It was, man, it's another guy. You got to go back and watch it for yourself. Words can only do so much justice for the power of George Foreman. What say you?
Wow, I think it's a great list, and I think to put the cherry on the icing on the cake of George Foreman, when he fought Michael Moore late in the fight, all Michael Moore had to do was stay away from him, and he just touched him, and Michael Moore went down. You talk about a guy younger than him, with about half his age, and it looked like he just touched him, and next thing you know, he was like. That was late in his boxing career. It was just kind of like he was like, boop, and like.
And another story I want to add is Vander Holyfield. He was asked the question, "Who was the hardest punch you ever faced?" And mind you, this is a guy that he fought Lennox Lewis in his prime. He fought Mike Tyson twice. He fought George Foreman. He said George Foreman hit him so hard that he went to the corner after a round was over, and he had to make sure that his teeth were still in his mouth. He said he felt like he lost all of his teeth after being hit by Big George Foreman. These are the kind of Wilt Chamberlain, Paul Bunyan stories, like almost Greek mythology, with that you see with George Foreman.
Yeah, I said the only people we had that these are all champions that you could probably make a case for being on the list is someone like Ernie Shavers. You and I talked about that, but these are all champions as well, and so they had to fight at a high caliber for a little bit in a way. But Ernie Shavers is another person that people who might be watching might say, Ernie Shavers hit people and feel like he put them through the floor. But this list, argue about the order. I think a more recent young cast will say Wilder because of the way he did things and everything else. I don't think anybody's going to argue with George Foreman. People might want to push Mike Tyson up higher, but I think your list is solid and it's a great list, and that's why we got you on the show. That's why we have a boxing moment with Darnell, because you brought all the supporting elements to your list, and we appreciate the work you're doing with it.
All right, it's been fun time talking boxing. There's not a lot going on really with this coronavirus. I heard you were talking a little bit about Bob Arum talking about possibly bringing on some fights in June. Can you talk a little bit about that? I didn't get to see that interview.
Yeah, I mean, Bob was on just talking about that they're beginning to have conversations in various states, Vegas being one of them, about bringing boxing back without crowds, very competitive fights, but not the high-end fights because, people, there are certain fighters that you have to bring back who there's a number of issues. Someone like Vasily, is at home. And so, passports and a number of these fighters who are, international fighters, still have to navigate what would look like to get them back to the States and into a training facility. So there's issues with that. But also we have fighters, people like Canelo, where the gate is as important as the pay-per-view numbers. Those fights you're not going to see. You're not going to see a Canelo here in these early months. We're not going to see Canelo or someone like that until we can actually get people who can sit in arenas because, you're not going to get Tyson Fury, Wilder, in this scenario because they brought 17 million at the gate, at the door. Those fights are not going to happen, but they're going to be really good fights coming in where top fighters that we'll want to see who don't necessarily bring the gate, but would bring the pay-per-view, would bring the streaming dollars. As you and I have talked about before, people like Arum, the way the boxing numbers work now, they got the contracts with ESPN. Money's already there. It's not it already set, so they need to produce the fights. And so there's plenty of fights that can be produced where you got people who what's good about this is they're going to have eyeballs on them. So when they get to future opportunities for pay-per-view, they can use this time, and Arum didn't say this, but I thought about this as they can use this time to actually build the legacies the reputations of some of these fighters so that when they bring them back, then those gates become part of their formula with some of these fighters. So having this exposure at a time where this is the eyeballs to build people. So there's going to be some quality fights. You might not get those fighters whose formulas are built on gates. People like Canelo, some of these top fighters, their formulas are not just pay-per-view. They're about the gate. All right, y'all. This has been good. As I said, go to realsportsguys.com. Check more Boxing Moment with Darnell. He's got a lot of great content. We're both up there talking about boxing. Also, you can hit him up on Twitter as well. He's on there as well. You can catch Darnell on Twitter, but you can also catch us on RSG Live at the Lounge. You go on Facebook. You can search for our group and be part of it. We have a lot of great conversations going on there. Darnell's always posting something on boxing in that space. Until next time, we want to make sure all the frontline workers, all you people who are in the hospitals, who are in the gas stations, who are in the stores that have to be open to make sure we have everything we need. We appreciate everything that you do. Thank you for all of us here at RSG. Keep doing it. Keep the faith. Keep moving forward. And all you other folks, stay safe. Stay at home. Keep that physical distancing until we can get a handle on this and defeat this virus and what it's doing to many of the people that we love and care about. Take care, and that's it. Peace out. Ding, ding.